Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. We are going to talk about resilience, I think, and dedication. I have Loo-beem, Kogan, on the line with us, and very, very experienced. He's done so many different things, and he has just so much experience to draw from. So he is our first male on our podcast, I have to say, that's not with another female. And so it's a little different today, but as always, I don't discriminate on that. And I think that we all have something to share. So without further ado, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Hi, Charisse. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am really honored to be the first male guest. And I am going to do everything I can to hold up to that first spot. And one of the things that I think I wanted to share with your listeners is that I've done over 50 podcasts in the last 2 months. And I think this is my most important one, because if there were no moms, there would be no continuation of life on this planet. So that's how important this is to me. And I think one of the things that I was very fortunate with is that I had my own financial planning practice. I was a registered investment advisor in Colorado for more than 10 years. And a lot of my clients were single moms. So I know a lot about how difficult it is to start your own business, well, to have a family and to always have the demand of a child, because this is one of the not many professions where you don't get vacations, you don't get your 20 days off or 1 day off, and you get it when you don't need it, and when you need it, you never get it. So in terms of resilience, you already have it. You have more resilience than any man. And if it wasn't any other way around, then we would be bearing children, not you. So I really believe that women have this untapped potential and that strength inside of you, that if you align all the things, then you can become super successful mompreneurs.
Well, you just gave the whole reason of the podcast, is because I do want women to understand that, yes, the role as a mother is very important, but to have a life in addition to being a mom, because I think sometimes we get so involved in that and we tend to lose ourselves. And sometimes that can lead in, especially in a world today where mental health is a huge issue. There's a lot of depression, there's a lot of different things going on, anxiety. And so it's like, if you can find your passion and still be a mom, and you can have both things. And so I love that you recognize that, and I love that you talk about it. And so let's talk about you being an entrepreneur, because you said you have been one for 20 years, right?
Oh, yes, my entire life. I briefly worked, my corporate experience is American Express. And I left American Express in 2004 to go on my own. And, before that, I also had my own business. So in my mind, I think that working for somebody else is just trading the most valuable asset that we have for a little bit of money. And when you talk about a little bit of money, I think that most people don't get compensated for what they do, and especially women don't get compensated for what you do in the corporate world. I had very successful clients who worked for major corporations, US and Canadian. And one thing that I noticed, that women always work more than men. It's always, you're more responsible, you will stay later, you don't have guys to catch up with and hang out. And the time that you get free time, you want to go back to your kids. So women tend to be a lot more disciplined than men. And I think that the fact that I think you have your biggest why already solved. So when everyone is looking for that why, I believe that for most mom is providing opportunities for their kids and making sure that they are able to go to a good private school or great college, and then later on start in life ahead, not behind. Really, for me, I just don't know how to work for somebody else. And my last employment was, I was running a nationwide infrastructure company in Ukraine. And but I was pretty much doing everything by myself. You know, they
Mm.
handed me this failing company and said, okay, you can do whatever you want with this baby. Make sure it lives. Your job is to make sure it lives. Before that, you know, I started in the US. I was working for American Express. It was year 2003, and I was super successful. And success in the corporate America, it means that you bring in new clients, new assets under management, in my case. And then I found out at some point in time, all I'm doing is I'm chasing the next client. And that was really encouraged, but I didn't have any time to spend with my existing clients.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to a really good friend of mine who said that in the history of the world, not one person went to a dealership, car dealership, picked up the brand new Mercedes, and then they drove to their state office of their secretary of the state and opened up a corporation. In other words, you just have to start where you are. And I said, I don't really have the funds, the means to go on my own. And he told me, you just are wasting your time. And the sooner you start, the faster you'll get through that initial stage. And nobody likes that stage when you're just taking all the risk, you're doing all the work. And in case of your listeners, you have a child that you'd like to spend your time with, and then this other baby, which is your business, it's taking time away. But at the beginning, it's the way it is. And just always keeping in mind why you're doing it, that you're doing it for your kid. I think it will get you through most difficult times and those uncertain periods. And when I started my business, we were homeless for more than 1 year. I'm trying to run an investment company. I'm building up my clients, and we don't have a place to live. And it went on for more than 1 year. So going from, you know, shelter to shelter and running a business, it was a place that I never wanted to come back to. And I worked so hard to get away from there. And I think a lot of moms can relate to that, you know, a lot when you're starting a business and you have a baby and you have to worry about all these things. It's really challenging. Like mental pressure is definitely there, but staying the course and doing it for what's most important to you, I think that's your fuel, and that's what you can tap into at any time.
Yeah.
But for me, running a business, I understood that I need to make a name for myself, and that's what I invested most of my career, doing the right thing for the clients, always showing up, taking the risks, saying yes to big and small invitations, then bigger, and just yeah, it was a really great ride for me.
So how did you get your clients back then?
The most successful part for me was when I started my radio show.
Okay.
Back in 2006, I really had a lot to say, and I thought I'm going to try going on the radio.
Wow.
It didn't really work at the beginning. It was like super stressful because I didn't know, before you have sponsors, you have to pay for your airtime.
Yeah.
And for a few months, it wasn't working. But then I realized that the issue is not with me and the message, it was with the technical issues. And I hired somebody who cleaned up the audio, cut in a few commercials, and then it really took off to the point where I had 11 different stations.
Wow.
I think it was like 6 or 7 different states. And all I was doing, I was just flying in between clients. So the calls started coming in, and I just went all over the United States. And I sat at a lot of kitchen tables, and I saw a lot of different situations. And I think that my biggest strength is just seeing how other people live and how unexpected things turn. Like just today, everything is great. And tomorrow, it could be over, you know?
Yeah.
Or somebody gets sick and somebody goes into hospice, or they just all different things are happening.
That would be, as a realtor, I mean, I walked into a house yesterday and the amount of stuff, this man had lived there for, well, since the 1950s. And so what, 70 years? Stuff everywhere. And, you know, to me, I've seen so much worse, but I mean, it was bad, but not as bad as I've seen. And so when the family was so embarrassed, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. This looks so horrible. I said, actually, it's not. You made it sound like it's this really horrible thing, but it's interesting to see how people, like what goes on in their lives. And you're right. You never know from one day to the next, you know, he's going to be dying pretty soon. And so the family's trying to deal with all this stuff. And it's just interesting to see how different people live and what has happened in their lives to create the trauma to where he hoards
Hmm.
stuff, but I think it's great that you start out on a radio show that it is hard to begin and you have to front all the money but eventually you can get sponsors and you can do things. And for the fact that you were so far, I didn't even know that part about you because you're an Olympic athlete, right? You were a Winter Olympian.
Hmm. Yes.
And so, I mean, you're so accomplished. And like you were there at 9/11 at the World Trade Center. And so you witnessed that.
Hmm.
So tell me, like, you seem like the type of person I love. I mean, this is, you
Thank you.
live life, that you don't let anything stop you. You just go full out. And so tell me, where did that mentality come and how do you continue to do that?
I think the mentality comes from lifetime choices and circumstances. My mom was killed when I was one. So
Mm,
I think from early in the beginning of my life, I had to learn what other babies learn, later on. I didn't have that experience of always having a mom there, loving hands that always supports you and guides you. So I'm super independent from very, very early age. And in my mind, if something needs to be done, I have to go get it. Like nobody is going to bring it to me. So the way I see things in my mind is that I actually have this, if I imagine something and I tell everyone like, we have this internal compass, and the internal compass always, not always, when it comes up with these rare moments of ideas, like you see something, you think like, oh, I can make a business out of it, or can create something. And that comes out in terms of feelings. It could be like, like this, something wants to come out from the inside of you. And just with time, I noticed that when I listen to that feeling, it always works out in the end. Like there's always chatter mind. It's going to take so much time. We have to start from the beginning. It's going to take so much risk. Why don't we just stick with something that is more comfortable? But if I notice that feeling inside, that something wants to come out, I will always follow in that direction. And then you've read all my accomplishments, but I didn't write them for me, and I would never write them in my entire life if I didn't dedicate the rest of my life to serving others. Wings for Heroes
yeah.
I take care of amputee veterans and deaf veterans. It's like the most difficult cases that the society just don't even want to see. Um, but that resilience is just being able to follow through on things that come from the inside of you. Not
Mhm.
like some great idea, I'm going to conquer the world. I had a few of those. They didn't work out. I tried
You
super hard for
tried.
so long. Yeah. And actually, I got to the top and I looked around and I was like, I'm not really happy. I have all the money in the world. But then the most important thing that was my relationship, it kind of got broken on the way because I shifted so much focus in working and thinking that I think it's a fault of most men. We think that if we can become good providers, then it solves other issues like the communication will happen on its own, all the difficulties that we didn't have courage to address and work out, they will disappear. And 2004 we were homeless, and then 2007 is when really the business took off, when radio started working. And I'm finding myself that I'm not happy, I'm really empty. Like the bank account is full. I was
Mhm.
thinking about how can I push my earnings into the next year, like November, December. I didn't need any because I have to pay tax in a few months. But
Mhm.
if I get paid in January, then I have a year and 4 months to pay the tax. That was the issue, but
Mhm.
the relationship wasn't working. And I remember the happiest time is when we didn't know where we're going to be tomorrow. Um, it was Christmas 2004. We had a place, roof over our head, and we got this organic chicken. It was sitting on the floor, three of us, including our dog, and just eating organic chicken and sharing. And that moment of like knowing that we're not on the street on the most important night of the year, and we have organic chicken. That was like real happiness. But then a few years down the road, all the money coming in, but we cannot sit on the floor anymore because, the relationship is not like that. That was a huge disappointment.
Mhm.
So, the keeping that why in front of you, and always I'm assuming that for moms who are entrepreneurs, you are working for your kid, for yourself, and obviously to provide the opportunities for your children. And I think the keeping that connection with your baby, with your kid, is super important, especially when you're busy starting your business. It's all uncertain. There's a lot of stress. So you really have to keep that in check. And I think it's important to get away from everything and just find a few minutes, just kick off your shoes and get grounded on the grass and learn how to breathe. Because the few breathing exercises, there's one that activates, you have your sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic. So if you inhale for 4 and you hold for 4 through your nose, and then you exhale 6 through your mouth, it actually activates your parasympathetic system. If you do that 5 or 10 times, you do it all the time when you're stressed, you will feel like you just took a pill. It really is magic. So you go 4 in, then you hold for 4, and you go.
Interesting.
Little pause. So you're on the grass, you're breathing. At 5 minutes, you will come back a different person. So try breathing, grounding. That's the first way to just get rid of all that stress. And then when you become really successful, it's really important to know that at some point, you're just adding 0, 0, 0, comma, 0, 0, 0, comma, 0, 0, 0, and there will be no 1 unless you make it into a 1.
So you've had it all and you've had nothing. And it sounds like at the time where you had nothing, the stress wasn't there as much and things weren't as bad. And so, but then you have everything. Like it's a hard place to be. And I've talked to lots of people who have made their tens of millions or whatever, and they said the same thing. I feel empty. It's like, now what, right?
Empty.
And so, what is your advice to people as they're climbing, they're pursuing their dream, they're climbing and that journey? What's your advice?
So basically, let's just start with expectations. I think we always go in with unrealistic expectations. We always expect great things to happen really fast, and most great things, sometimes you get lucky, but most of the time you really need to give time until whatever was immaterial, like a thought, your vision, until it materializes. So just setting expectation. First of all, you have to make a decision. So let's just go. We're making a formula, let's say formula for success in anything that you do. You say, first of all, I feel that something is important to me. I have this great idea. It's either by watching my kids and not needing something for them and them not having. I think those are the best ideas that solve a need that a lot of parents need. So let's say you have something that is meaningful and valuable to you, and you want to go for it. You want to turn it into a business. First thing you do, you make a decision. You decide. You say, I'm doing this thing. And then once the decision is made, you need to think about, the decision is made, I will do whatever it takes for as long as it takes. And with that mindset, you go into your first step. And the question is, what is the next available step that will get me closest to my goal? And most of the time, you will feel really insecure about those things, whether that's picking up the phone and calling somebody and trying to offer you service, writing an email, just basically first initial contacts that are most stressful for everybody. I've started many businesses, and every time I start now, I have to learn how to fundraise. I've never asked for money in my life, but I have to learn how to do it because 100% of my time goes into running a mission. And it starts at 5 o'clock in the morning with New Zealand, and it ends after midnight, sometimes talking to the United States. So it goes around the clock. And it's really uncomfortable, it's really going outside of my comfort zone. I don't like talking about my tough childhood or my failures, It's something my personal and private. But throughout all that time, all I was doing is thinking, what is that one thing that I can do right now? Like nothing is working. I don't see how it's going to happen. So I just take one step. And when I take that step, I see the next available step. So we make a decision. We say we're going to do whatever it takes to get there for however long it takes. And you just do one step at a time. And what you'll notice throughout your career, and you've probably seen it many times, like other people just stop, One stops here, another one stops here. And if you just taking that extra step, then with time and with more steps, you will be ahead of other people, not because you're like super something but because you just put more effort and other people quit. But you cannot quit because you decided your why, you made a decision, and now you're just, by doing one step at a time, you don't overwhelm yourself. I don't know if you've seen this a lot. I see it all the time. People spend years creating this business plan. They think it's like perfect. Oh, it's like dominoes. It's so perfect. They just push one and they all fall into place when it's not the reality.
Yeah,
So,
it's not.
I'd say by taking one step at a time, you don't overwhelm yourself.
Love that. Okay, so I want to talk about Wings for Heroes real quick.
Okay.
Our time's almost out, but like that's what you're doing right now. That's your passion project. And so, what made you decide to create it, and what is the mission that you're trying to accomplish?
Um, it started as an idea of, I am a paragliding pilot. I fly those little things, it's like a plastic bag above your head with strings, and you hanging in the backpack, thousands of feet above the air, no fuselage, no engine, nobody around. First time I flew as a passenger, I had a professional guy behind me. I thought I'm going to die. Like, really. I said goodbye to my dad. I said goodbye to my brother in the air. And then I said, okay, relax. Just, it's going to be cool. And when we landed, I always thought of myself as, when you ski jump, you do some crazy things, and 60 miles an hour head forward takes a lot of bravery. But here I am sitting, like the guy is gone, and I'm sitting by myself. Nothing's happening. I'm on the ground. My hands are shaking. And then I realized that I have to learn how to do it for myself, because nothing scared me like this before. Like, it's this feeling you are free, you're flying, right? But at the same time, it's super scary. And then when the full-scale invasion started, the Ukrainian war started in 2014, and I've seen the amputees because life brought me there for work. And then in 2022, I saw a young lady. She was a teenager. She walked out in the middle of a packed football stadium on her new prosthetic leg, and she said, they can take our land, and they can even take a part of my body, but they're not going to break me." And that was the moment when I knew I cannot. That's when I made a decision that I'm not thinking about doing something, I'm doing something. And my thought was, really, let's take somebody who sacrificed so much, they had an amputation, and we're going to take them paragliding. And that moment when you go off the cliff, like, your subconscious mind knows that you're going to die. Like, it doesn't matter what you think, just your primordial brain knows that it's the end, and it just completely shuts off everything. Like, you don't have any other problems except one: you want to live. And I thought that if we put veterans into that experience, into that situation, that it will be what the psychologists call, I think it's like a positive traumatic experience. It can actually jolt somebody out of depression. And I thought it would be the first step. So we got the first part done, and I found out that they need a lot more. And now Wings for Heroes, I have physical therapists, I have a swimming coach, I have a cycling coach, and I have a really awesome team of volunteers that they would spend 24 hours a day with our veterans. So basically, Wings for Heroes is, it's not a charity, it's a mission that takes care of people who took care of us. And the reason we have this ability to communicate with one another and not think about running into a bomb shelter is because there are a lot of brave men and women that put themselves in between war and peace, and they're keeping war out east. They're not letting it. It always wants to go west, and they're keeping it there. But when they're done and they come back, the system forgets them. The society forgets them. We have the best VA benefits in the world, in the United States, and we have so many issues, it's hard to begin even listing them. So other countries in the world are even worse. And in my mind, it doesn't matter who, it's a Ukrainian kid who caught a bullet that could have killed a US soldier. It's one world. And I basically decided that I'm going to do something, and it grew up into something bigger than I could imagine. And let me tell you, I'm scared every day. I don't know how I'm going to run it with my experience, with all the accomplishments. This is the most challenging thing. And for all the moms, if you're running a business, you are doing such a huge service for this planet, because you'll be able to provide for your kid who is going to start off better than others. And that's a huge thing in today's world, to give your child education that you want to give them, and teach them values that are important. Like today, parents are so busy. But if you're running your business, you're running your own schedule. And you know what? Business can always wait, and the kid cannot.
Wow.
I
I
think.
could talk to
I
you so
believe.
long. I like our time is up and I have so many questions and I'd love to talk to you further. It's just amazing. First of all, veterans, and I do agree that people don't like to go put your life on the line in the amount of money like for nothing, right? And to not know if you're going to come back or not. And then to the families who you say goodbye, not knowing if they're ever going to come back or not. And so how that affects so many different people. I just want to touch real quick on the World Trade Center. What was it like, that experience, to think, what is happening to this world and to see the destruction and things? What went through your mind?
Well, the biggest feeling is that you're not safe anywhere. If like that, something like that happens in the middle of Manhattan to the most iconic buildings of finance in history of this planet, then you lose this feeling of safety. And what came out of it, I think it was a lot of difficulties and hardship that came after. It just like you pretty much lose everything. I was displaced, went to California, then to Colorado, then to Texas. And find a new place was really hard. But yeah, it just turns the world upside down. But now looking almost 25 years down the road, that event moved me out of New York forever. And if I stayed in New York, I would have been super selfish, making a lot of money. That's all I cared about, because that was the environment. And I think for me, the human connection is more important. Obviously, human connection is more important because I run a humanitarian mission. But it changed me a lot, Charisse. It changed me a lot in terms of appreciating things that I didn't appreciate before, knowing that it could end anytime. I remember I was invited to like different churches to speak in front of church groups, and they said, when you go out the door, just tell your family I love you, because you don't know if you're going to come back. That was like the biggest message that I got from above. You going out the door, you have to say I love you, and then you come back home. But God forbid you don't. Those were the last words that your family will hear.
Wow. And it's so true. And that can go for anything. With as many school shootings as there is, it's hard. I drop off my girls to school every day and think I've got to let them know I love them. And it's sad, but it's a world and it's not even that. Like, it could be anything. You could die of a heart attack, or you could, I mean, it doesn't matter. And so being able to enjoy life, embrace life, and especially those relationships that you have is so important. And I think that you have such a unique perspective, and kudos to you that you've accomplished so much, but the fact that you're now dedicating your life to serving other people instead of yourself, right? I thank you for that. And I thank you for the service that you've done and all the things that you've accomplished. So I appreciate you being on the show as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Charisse. It was really nice of you saying it. And I hope we gave the formula. You make a decision, you say, I'm going to do whatever it takes. Here's my why. It's my kids. And then you just take one step at a time. One more. When you cannot do anymore, just make yourself do one more step and you will be successful.
I love that. Well, Loo-beem, if our listeners wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
It's simple. I don't know if you provide the links, but it's wingsforheroes.org. The whole story is there. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page, I have some videos that I think, will tell you about the soul of the mission. And the contact button is right there. So you can just hit contact button. And really, I said it on many shows. People just don't really take me up on this. The contact button is there. You can ask me questions about your business, and you say, hey, I'm Charisse, listener. I would like to ask you about, I am stuck here. And I will answer, because I answer all the mail that comes to us. So wingsforheroes.org, contact button. And if you need help, I'm the guy who would be more than happy to help you.
Love that. You're amazing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for giving me such an honor. I hope I fill in the big shoes, of the first person, of the first male guest on your show. It's really cool.
You did. And
thank you for having me, Aaron.
I am going to ask you one last question that I wanted to.
Okay. Okay.
Typically, I'm going to tweak this because it's usually about moms. So I'm just going to ask you, if you were sitting on a park bench and you were talking to your 19-year-old self, what advice would you give your 19-year-old self?
I would really tell him that whatever you feel inside, all those thoughts, all those feelings that come up of the things that you like to do and things you like to achieve and change, they're all correct. So don't doubt yourself. If something's really important for you, I went after everything that was important to me. So if God forbid I died right now or I was on my dying bed, I don't think I would regret. I have nothing to regret. I really have been trying to think about those things. I would tell him just move faster sometimes. You spend too much time making that decision, just if you feel like it's moving you from inside, decide faster. Don't wait until, tomorrow, next week, next year, whenever. Just do it now.
I love that. So amazing. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Charisse.
And Unbreakable Moms, you heard it, do it now, which you can't say because that's a Nike slogan, right? But
Really?
it
They
is.
say
Well,
just do it. They say just do
It
it.
is. Do
Yeah,
it
I
now.
say do it now.
Yeah, so that's the Loo-beem slogan. But go and do it. Go follow your passion and don't let anything stop you. And I love the fact that you said go faster because I am one of those people that I think and I think, and then all of a sudden now somebody else has done it because I didn't do what I was put on this earth to do. And so live your life, enjoy your life, and go out and make it a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.